Harvest 2022 is in full swing. A little bit of a late start for our farm just because the crops went in late due to a wet spring. And a lack of rainfall caused the crops to basically stand still for part of the summer. But we are up and running, so enjoy the videos. Welcome to Harvest 2022, the S780 John Deere Combine. This combine's new to us this year. I wish John Deere had more than 3 positions on the throttle. Same header. This is a 635F. That's a 35 foot wide, 600 series. It's the only 600 series head still made that at least I know about. Which most of the sales have now went to drapers. Would like to have a HD 35F or possibly an HD 40F, which would be the hinged frame flex draper, but with the price tag of around $140,000, or at least what I'm seeing on the internet, of a price tag of $140,000 compared to a head that's around $20,000. It's not going to happen anytime soon, at least. Maybe when they get some used ones on the market, we'll consider it, but this head is paid for, and it works very well, and actually feeds better on the John Deere's, at least in my opinion, than the MacDons. And if you get out and check anything we're leaving on the ground, which we're not leaving any, normal loss would be sickle bar of about a bushel an acre, but that does not justify a draper, as there would be literally no advantage in yield loss to offset $100,000 plus. These beans right now are making mid-50s. Just opened up the border around this farm. I think average is around 45, and we'll get up here in this ridge, it'll probably be in the 60s. Down a little bit from last year, but we only had about 2.8 inches of rain throughout the whole growing season. We had some early rain. We're about 12 inches of rain below average right now. We're, I think, about 21 inches total for the year, and that includes snow converted to rainfall. And normal would be around 40. So for year to date, we are very dry. Particular farm we are on is an 80-acre farm. Then you can see the harvested beans in front of us that go over there to the tip of my finger, and we go over here to that bin there, the small one, not the big one across the road, the small one. Then there's a ditch that runs down through us on this that gets bigger, and it winds together down there. So we're on an 80. We're on the side of the road. There is a road over there. But this 80 lays in here, only accessible from that road. We have a road on both sides of our 80. And over here where the neighbor's combining is, or where he's combining, we have another 80. And that attaches on and goes to the other road, as well as an 80 that attaches on to us and goes to the other road. Our 80 would be better if you had this 80 and possibly that 80, and especially that 80. And you get down there to where that corn's at. Steve's standing way down there, and that goes into yet another farm. Well, new floor and a new arm. And over here, you can see we have a bowed arm, and we have a replaced arm. And this floor, this floor over here has a tag on it. And we can see that we've had some heating here, so somebody previously had a problem. Just love buying other people's problems. And that there would be the ruined floor where it froze up and bent. And on this side of the hill we are combining 30-inch row beans. I planted that side with 15s, Dad planted this side with 30s. My might be some things coming up there you'll have to stay tuned for next year. And we're making all sorts of changes around the farm, but you guys can stay tuned and ride along for that ride, or you can always check up on the second channel for more information and behind the scenes. And most of you guys keep asking what the name of that channel is, which I try to drop in the comments but do not advertise on here, because I'm sure that the algorithm has more than quadruple flagged that channel at this point in time. 30-inch row beans right now are running about 49 bushels an acre. They are much wider apart than the 15s. Obviously it's twice as wide, but they sure look a lot wider when you're combining them. And it's a little different to combine, and you can still combine them just like any bean. It's just kind of odd though, because the others tend to help feed each other, whereas the 30-inch row beans feel like you're always trying to push them in the head a little more. So I'm not sure what I think of them, but the yields seem to be about the same. And these were planted into some really poor and very muddy conditions. We did have to replace a few things on this header. There was a couple arms underneath that were messed up, and we bought it, it was laying on the ground. I just love buying used stuff. Combine, I got very lucky on. This combine's it was a program combine, John Deere certified pre-owned, so they had rebuilt a lot of things on it, eliminated or alleviated any problems. I really like the combine. It's a major step up over the S600. We did not lease this combine, and we are buying it through John Deere Financial, which offered a really good, almost a 0% interest deal, which has made the deal even more attractive. So we're quite happy with it, quite happy with the purchase, quite happy with the machine. By no means brand new. It has 900 hours on it, but that's all we can afford on a farm our size. So for us, we're hog heaven with it. And we plan to run this combine for many years to come. As far as headers, again, we could always go bigger, we could always go newer, but the advantage there would be minimal. Now with the corn head, there are some advantages to having the proper working equipment, such as letting the corn head do the tillage. You guys will have to stick around to see what we did there. I don't think I like the 30-inch row beans as well, just because weed control and just farmability factor. They're a lot different to farm than the 15s, or maybe like a 20-inch space beans would be nice. Just a little bit wider to get the sprayer wheels down, but not near as wide as the corn in our area really works really good on 30s, and that's just to get the equipment down the row, as well as having the ability to follow with a corn head. There are some guys that use 20-inch in our area, but not very much. There used to be a house site on this farm, sat right here on this ridge. You gotta be a little careful for any residual concrete or anything like metal that may be lurking down amongst the crop. The owners back in the 80s were raising Mustangs on this. Yes, that's wild Mustangs, horses, and basically went broke. We were able to pick the farm up in the 80s, which, at the time, or for modern day, it seems like it was very cheap, but at the time it was not that easy to pay for. The beans are surprisingly doing pretty well. I mean, always could be a lot better, but we just didn't get the rains this summer. But at the $15 to $16 range, which is where they're able to contract out for, and I think there will be some higher opportunities than that coming up, and those are the kind of things we talk about in the second channel. But there's some money to be made in it this year, even with the little bit lower yields, especially with corn. We'll see where that goes. We're seeing positive basis and over $7.5 even during harvest lows. So definitely could be some upside potential to that market yet. Lots of harvest footage coming, so you guys will have to stay tuned to that. On today's daily dose, more broken shit. Go down here and find the snouts. Self-implied. The springs broke down there. Bent the bracket, dropped this. Must have just been working. It's about to crack. Let's see. Obviously nothing got hit. Oh, goody. Finally rolling on this 160 here. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and we're just getting going now. the header had a bent arm underneath there when we replaced it. Apparently the little hydraulic line that goes up there, they braze into a little T. Well, the little braze spot had cracked, started leaking. So when we came down here this morning, started the combine fueled up, it was low on oil. Well, where's it going? Well, that's where it was going, and you just couldn't see it because it's underneath the head, and the plant's wiping away. So finally got that fixed. Yeah, while we were walking around the head, and how I kind of started the morning was just doing an inspection just to notice that the spring out there in that outer end was broke, and the end had dropped down. Well, what happened when that happened was the little bracket went down and bent a piece of metal. So everything was in stock, including that little line was in stock at the local John Deere dealership. Glad it was in stock, but the fact it was in stock tells you everything you need to know. And if you don't know, it means they sell a lot of them. My goal here for this header was to get some years out of it, kind of let some other stuff get paid for, and as I had talked about previously, the advantages or disadvantages, particularly with this head, do not outweigh costs of replacing it. You know, a good planter getting seed placement's worth a lot, or getting that treatment on your seed's worth a lot, or a sprayer that can deliver the right time, that's worth a lot. But a combine that's going to cut exactly almost the same, regardless whether it's this head or the super nice one, that's not going to make anything. That's just a luxury buy. But admittingly, you can't lose a crop either. But the losses are, what I've noticed, no different. They're actually identical. But I was hoping in a few years that there'd be a few HDFs. It'd be an HD, which stands for hinge draper. So HD 35F or an HD 40F, 35 or 40 foot flexible hinge frame draper deer. Hoping to see a few of those on the used market. I already see a few HD 40s showing up now. The very first ones that come out, I know they had some issues with, including they got a weird turnbuckle thing on the end that releases it. There's a couple videos on YouTube about that, and I know Mike Mitchell, that's a pretty good channel. He was bitching about that end turnbuckle too. So you probably want to go watch the serial numbers on those, let them shake some problems out for you. A guy does buy one, but that'll be something maybe I will buy the luxury in a few years. But we're going to buy the same size head that we got now. What we need is rainfall, so you got something to shove through this head. Right here, these beans are good. These are running mid-60s, 66, 68. But the whole field's not gonna do that. Last year it did, but just not going to this year. Now I gotta pay for all these repairs on this head, so you can go in the link below, buy you some merch, 20% off of pit vipers. Oh wait, we don't offer that here. We are looking for an additional grain bin for our farm. We currently rent some bins that are not in very good shape and not in very good locations, so it'd be nicer to have our own, especially if you're going to be paying for it anyway. Right now we mainly have GSI bins besides the older ones, which were Stormwater, which we actually had a dealership and built many of over the years. So we're looking at a Sukup. Does anybody have a Sukup bin or any knowledge of? And if you do, drop in the comments below. And if you happen to know of any good dealers in the western Iowa area, primarily below Interstate 80, put that in the comments also. And we're going to start getting some quotes together, and they do have some pretty good FSA programs to give bins up to 12 years to a mile-long pile of paperwork, and another generally piss-poorly funded government program, but they do offer some money on programs like that, which can ease the need for Astroglide when you buy a new bin right now. And there's a new box of injectors getting ready to get installed in the Dozer. These injectors are about $750 a piece from John Deere, and unfortunately there's no real aftermarket company or anything. I know John Deere does do some rebuilds on them. They must have some sort of way of removing that lower end to do it, but there's not really an aftermarket company where you can go just to buy them, or at least none that we found. Each injector comes with a code that you enter, and we'll be getting those installed into the Dozer here possibly as early as today. One project that the old Dozer does is little old contour terraces. You really can't even see them in the camera, but here in the machine you sure can. But they are a giant pain in the rear, and they need to be out of this field so we can level everything up, put it back to what it's supposed to be, and then start building new. Also, there's some sloughs out here, just not very terracing tiled. This farm needs work. Really good farm, just needs to be run over with a dozer, and a lot of hours need to put in out here to eliminate this bull crap of trying to farm around these things, waterways, general stupidity that's out here. It's just, it was made for 1950s equipment, that's all there is to it. Lots going on the farm. We'll get that dozer fixed and going. We'll talk about that machine more, possibly on the second channel. Lots more harvest and videos coming, including a lot better footage than this video. We're just trying to get the bugs out of everything. Hopefully this header cooperates the rest of the season. Got a long ways to go here. The big picture of how our yield's doing, 45, 55 areas on some, seen as low as 30. It's just very widely variable right now. I think we're going to have a whole farm average of around 50 bushels an acre, which is not great. County average is better than that historically over 5 years, but considering we literally had 2.7 inches of rainfall the entire growing season, probably not that bad, honestly. We had some August rains that made that. Too early to really tell you right now. I will keep you updated on yields as we go. And we have some really cool expansion things coming up in the future. Just a lot going on again, and I'll bring you guys along for the ride. So lots of videos coming, trying to get back into the video making mood after a very busy year. So stay tuned for that and more. Appreciate you guys watching, and if you're interested in this channel at all, you can hit the subscribe button. And if you're not, you hated it, then go make your own video.